What up, tubers? Bunny here, and welcome back to GeoFlight Simulator. So this week, I'm going to be talking about gliders. So this is a glider. It seems to be rocking back and forth mysteriously, even though there should be no wind acting upon this thing right now. But no, a glider basically is a plane without an engine. It has to be taken to higher altitudes, being towed by another plane. From there, it is released, and it glides along merrily and back down to Earth. That is basically what a glider does. So this is one of 4 gliders in GeoFlight Simulator. This is the Alisport Silent 2 Electro. And actually, this glider breaks the rules of not having an engine, because if I press the 1 key, that just turned on the motor to like 20% throttle. More like, actually, I think 11% throttle or something like that. But yes, this glider does have an engine. I will actually go into further detail about this glider a little bit later. But for now, I'm going to start with 3 other gliders. So this is the Silent 2 Electro right here underneath the Airbus A380. If I scroll down, you will see 3 more gliders. There's the SZD Jantar. There's the Paraglider, and then the Goat Airchair. And yes, that is what it's called. I'm not sure what it has to do with goats. But for now, let me start with the Paraglider. Okay, so this is a Paraglider. This is what it looks like. What? Huh? Oh. This is what the Paraglider looks like. It's basically a special parachute shaped to look and act like a wing, and then suspended at the bottom is a seat where somebody sits. And there is that somebody right there. This is one of few aircraft that actually have a person depicted in the aircraft. And you might notice that right now my simulation is paused. That's because if I let it play, you will notice once on the ground and if motionless, it just leans back and then thuds on the ground like that. So not very helpful. So let me go ahead and get this thing into the air over the beautiful French Alps. This is where I'm flying today. And with GeoFS 3.0's vegetation rendering, my golly, does this place look even all the more beautiful. Let's get in the air. Alright, so I'm in the air, and right now you can see that the paraglider is kind of bobbing back and forth like this. This is normal with the paraglider. So actually I'm going to pull back to stabilize myself. And there we go. Okay. So the paraglider is stable now. So I can go into further explanation about it. So first, let me explain the animations briefly. So I'm actually going to remove the gauges for a moment. Observe the person. If I pull up using the pull up key, you notice the hands spread apart like this. If I push down, you notice the hands come together like that. So that's that animation. And yes, that's also the controls for how to pitch up and down in the glider. If you're using the keyboard, you will use the same keys for pitching up and down as you would in any other aircraft. To turn left and right, you will use the roll keys. So roll left will turn you left, and roll right will turn you right. And you might notice the person moving his arms out like that as the glider moves like so. That is how to fly the paraglider and the animations that it has. You want to be careful when turning left or right, as I have noticed that causes the glider to get a bit unstable. So how about other cam views? Well, here's the cockpit view. And you would not be seeing these gauges. This is what you'd be seeing. A clear view of the beautiful Alpine mountains. And your body sitting on the chair, suspended in front of you. So, yes, this is basically like a first-person camera, but don't turn backwards, or otherwise you get this, you get this face looking staring right into your soul! So the Paraglider has no additional camera views to it. All it has is the follow cam, cockpit cam, cockpitless cam, chase cam, free cam, fixed cam, those standard 6 cameras that are on all GeoFS aircraft. It has no additional views, like no camera on the parachute or anything like that. So, mid-flight performance, this is it. The glider just gently flies along the atmosphere at 20 knots. In fact, I don't think I can turn the autopilot on. No. So I cannot see just what my speed is. But yeah, I would say I'm going about 15 knots right now. And it's going to take me too long to get to the ground to come in for a landing. So I'll spawn this paraglider up back at the airport, and I can give you an idea as to how to bring this in for a landing. But first, one thing that I want to show you is that the paraglider, is the only aircraft in GeoFlight Simulator that is capable of flying backwards. So if I rock this thing back and forth, I might be able to, if I pull it up like this, and there we go, there you go. I have now succeeded in getting this thing to fly backwards. So you might notice, if you look at the trees in the background, you notice that they are going the opposite way. So yes, I am flying backwards now. Again, this is the only aircraft in GeoFlight Simulator that is capable of flying backwards. No other aircraft have done it. Believe me, I tried. Here's a brief clip of how that went. Alright, so I brought this thing back to the town where the airport is, so let me come in for a landing. I'm not going to be able to land on the runway over there, however. That's not going to be possible, unfortunately. However, I can just settle myself down somewhere maybe on that street there, and I can kind of show you, how do you land this thing? Well, it's not exactly a science. Basically, treat the person in this basket the way you want to be treated. So, like, that means don't go nose first into the ground. You don't want to break his legs, because you certainly wouldn't want your legs to be broken. Actually, I don't know if there is too much of a science over here for how to properly land this thing. I guess try to feather the pitch so that your rate of descent is as slow as possible. It will probably also assist you in stall. In fact, here we go. I'm about to stall vertical landing, and there, a gentle landing right there on the ground. Just something like that. Actually, yeah, it's kind of easy. It's as long as you just try to land as legitimately as possible, you can achieve that, no problem. But yeah, I think the guy's fine. It looks like half his body might be buried underneath the ground. But that's fine. He'll be fine. He's good to go for the next glider. Alright, so this is the GOAT Airchair. It's basically a seat attached to a gondola that has some wings mounted to it. And it only has the one wheel that you see right there on the back. So this thing has no way of keeping itself stable on the ground. Hence why the thing just kind of leaned over to one side while on the ground. However, I think it's a stable enough configuration on the ground where I can point out a few things about it before I send this thing into the air to glide around in it. So, as with the Paraglider, you will notice that there is a guy there's a guide that is rendered into the aircraft. And heck, he looks to be the same guy that was riding the parachute a minute ago. So, this is what the GOAT Airchair looks like. Nothing too special about it. Okay, so this is the first of the gliders that I'm mentioning that has the standard controls like you find in most other regular aircraft. It has pitch control. You see the elevators moving up and down right now. It has yaw control. You might see the rudder right now. And it also has roll. So this aircraft can operate with pitch, yaw, and roll. It can also, if you so desire, do nosedives into the ground. But of course, that is a very foolish thing to do. But who am I to stop you? I would probably do something reckless like that myself. In fact, wait! We're gonna pitch down now! Like this! But all in all, the controls are a lot easier on this aircraft than the Paraglider, which means it will be a bit more stable in flight, which should help for some, peaceful, relaxing gliding. Oh, you can do reckless stuff like I'm doing right here! Uh-oh, I'm dead. Alright, what about the camera views for this guy? Well, it has the same 6 basic cam views, no additional ones. So this is the cockpit view. You wouldn't see these gauges either. All you would be seeing is this joystick and these foot pedals. None of these controls actually work, however. I'm yawing left, I'm yawing right, pitching up, pitching down. Rolling left, rolling right. You see the joystick does absolutely nothing. So yes, again, this is a first-person camera. However, the camera is still not in the person's head. In fact, it looks like this guy has a nice big eye, like in his chest or something like that. No? Yeah. No, actually, you know what? I'm wrong. I just looked at my shoulder for reference, and yeah, I think this guy's eyes are in the normal place. But anyway, let's get this Airchair flying, and I can show you how to fly this. Alright, it's simple enough. You just use your controls to make sure that this thing stays in level flight. This Airchair can actually do some stunts if you know how to do it properly. No, it cannot do barrel rolls like you see me trying to do here. That's just not possible. However, if you go into a nosedive, build up enough speed, you can perform a loop-de-loop. So let's see, once I get to the magic 80 knots, I'm going to pull back and, alright, let's do a loop-de-loop. Okay, level up, level off, level off. Okay, there. I just did a loop-de-loop in the GOAT Airchair. You might have noticed like a minute ago, I tried doing a barrel roll. You can't do that. I found that isn't really possible. So this Airchair operates at like 30 to 40 knots. That's about its gliding speed. For this, I can't really place a proper... I can't do takeoff speeds for the obvious reason that this thing cannot take off. However, I think if you get like below 20 knots, you lose too much airspeed and you stall. Yep, I'm getting the stall warning. And actually, warnings remind me that these gliders actually have a sound to them. The Paraglider, the Goat Airchair, and also the Jantar, which I'll be covering in a couple minutes, they all have this following sound. So let me unmute. So you hear the wind blowing through past the aircraft. You also hear a strange beeping noise. It's sort of like a vertical speed indicating beep. Like I notice, especially if you pitch up. The faster that your altitude is increasing, the faster that and higher pitch that the beep becomes. So let me pull up a little. Alright, you saw that there. You saw that. So yes, these gliders are all equipped with a little vertical speed indicating device that I like to call BP. BP will let you know if your altitude is increasing or if your altitude is decreasing slow enough where there is a possibility that you might start going in upward direction. So let me unmute, or unmute. Let me mute, and okay, so I think the only thing left to cover about the Goat Airchair is how to land this thing. So, alright, so I've teleported closer to the airport, so there's the runway over there. So now let me show you how to bring this thing in for a landing. So, as I mentioned earlier, this Airchair has only one wheel in the back. And this wheel does not come with brakes. So once you touch down, basically what happens is you'll need to pitch down so that the front of the gondola starts scraping along the asphalt of the runway. And that will provide you the friction necessary to bring your vehicle to a complete stop. If I hit the parking brake button, nothing's happening. So it doesn't even make sense for me to try anymore. So, okay. So I'm approaching the runway. Of course, I really ought to line up for the approach. Also, I'm a little bit high for the approach. That doesn't really matter so much because, well, I'm going slow enough. So, yeah, it's not really much of a problem. Okay, so the landing procedure for the Goat Airchair, make sure upon touchdown that your rate of descent is as low as possible. It helps to butter the bread when you come in for a landing, otherwise you may rebound. Something that is inconvenient and all in all something that you just don't want to do. Rebounds are not a happy thing, especially in gliders, where there's no go-around capabilities and stuff like that. Okay, so I'm low enough, so I'm going to start leveling off. There's my shadow. You pull up a little bit. Once you touch down, pitch the nose down so that your nose starts scraping along the asphalt. And there you go. that is how you land the goat air chair and bring it to a complete stop. And that is the demonstration for the goat air chair. Okay, so this is the SZD 483 Jantar. So this is probably what you think of when you picture a glider. A bubble up front where the cockpit is housed. Not much of a frame. You don't need too much of a frame for gliders like this. Your nice long wings to allow for flight at low speeds and that stuff. So this is what the Jantar looks like. So once again, it's got ailerons, elevators, and rudders. Uh, this glider has a functional landing gear, which I can't demonstrate right now because I'm on the ground. I will need to get into the air to demonstrate it, but it can retract and extend. Also, this glider is the first one to have spoilers. You notice the spoilers pop up out of the top like that? Yes. Those will provide air drag if you know your aviation a little bit. That's sort of an obvious fact. However, I do find it quite handy during landings as it helps me to keep my speed in check. So if I go into the cockpit, this is what it looks like in here. This cockpit is a legitimate cockpit. You got your seat where you kind of recline in it. The joystick actually works. So I'm pulling up, pushing down, roll left, roll right. Now the foot pedals do not work. They do not have any animation at all when you go to apply yaw. So this aircraft, it's got functional gauges on the cockpit view. So you see the speedometer is functional, the vertical speed indicator, the compass, and the altimeter. All those gauges are functional on this aircraft. So the Jantar has no additional cameras besides the standard 6 that you get on all aircraft. So I think at this point, let me go ahead and get this thing to the air and show you how to glide around with it. So here it is, your graceful albatross, flying with its big wings across the sky. So, one thing you will notice about the Jantar is that it glides a lot faster than the goat air chair does. Like, I'm approaching 70 knots right now in this gentle descent. Actually, as long as I'm up in the air, let me show you for a moment the landing gear. So if I hit G, the landing gear comes down. And it takes like only a second for the gear to come down or go back up. So, flying this thing around, yes. So, yes, you can do barrel rolls. You can do barrel rolls with this bad boy. Yes, you can. Also, if you notice, I'm in the nosedive, and I'm really increasing my speed rapidly. Like, I'm now approaching 200 knots, crazy speeds. Let me go ahead and pull up, and you notice, yeet! There we go! There we go, baby! Okay, so now I gotta get this thing back under control. Okay, we're stable once more. So, yeah, you can do stunts in this thing. It, of course, is not a recommended thing that you do for obvious reasons, like you could crash and die. So, yes, for when you want to do some peaceful gliding at higher speeds. So, I think now I just need to bring this thing closer to the runway. It's all the way over there. My arrow is pointing at it right now. But yes, let me see if hopefully I can get this glider close enough to the runway where I can demonstrate how to land this thing without the game crashing on it. Alright, I'm coming in on final for the airport. So, okay, I'm a little bit low for the approach. However, I think I have enough speed, I've got enough lift on me where it should not be a problem for coming in for a landing. As with the Goat Airchair, the idea is to butter the bread as best as you can. Namely, have your rate of descent be as low as possible when you come in for a touchdown. Uh, it also helps to sometimes if you're having trouble landing, it helps to stall your aircraft out while over on the runway. It is possible to do that, especially if you're gliding at low enough speed. You can lose enough lift. But then, I should note, this landing gear has got brakes on it. So once you do touch down, you can apply the brake and then just safely come to a stop. Guys, I don't know if I'm going to actually be able to make it to the runway. My speed is getting quite low. I mean, I am able to keep this glider at a level speed, so maybe I can hold it long enough to reach the runway. Okay, I'm getting a stall warning. I'm not going to be able to make it to the runway. It's going to say 30 knots is right around where I start to lose my lift. So I'm going to bring the gear down. And okay, so if you're flying at low enough speeds, you see right there, you can just drop to the ground like that, and that's pretty much all there is to it with landing. Now, if you're coming into the runway at higher speeds, it does help to apply the spoilers, and from there slow down and, of course, butter the bread if at all possible. So yeah, that is the Jantar. Now on to the best for last. Alright, so here's the Alisport Silent 2 Electro. So there's quite a few things to mention about this glider. First of all, this glider is completely electric. This is the only aircraft in GeoFlight Simulator, at least right now, that is electric powered. Another thing to note is that this aircraft, as I mentioned earlier in the video, it actually has an engine. So if I apply a little bit of power, you see right there, an engine comes on and starts spinning. Let me turn it off. And yeah. Another thing to note, this aircraft has flaps. So watch the wings. It might be a little hard to notice, but I'm hitting the flaps down button. You might notice that a chunk of the wings comes down and, acts as sort of a lift enhancement surface. So yes, this aircraft has flaps. Though for the most part, I'd probably be using the full flaps, especially like during landing. One thing I noticed is that it will stiffen the wings as you're coming in for a landing. Which brings me to another thing about this aircraft. This glider is the only one, thus far anyway, with wing flaps. And I will demonstrate that as soon as I get into the air. But first, before I take off, let me show you what what the glider sounds like. If I unmute, basically I'm unmuting and showing you the sounds so that you can hear the motor on this thing. So I'm going to go ahead and get it running. Alright, so you hear this low whine. The engine is now operating. So I'm going to start throttling up a little bit. Yeah, you hear that? Alright, for these next settings, you're gonna start hearing more of the wind blowing through the propellers. And it's gonna start sounding a lot more like a regular propeller-powered aircraft's engine. Alright, and soon enough the whine is going to cease and you will just hear the sound of the engine operating at full power. And there you have it. So now that I've got this thing operating under full power, one thing that is noteworthy about this aircraft is now that I'm at 50 knots, I can pull back. And there we go! I can take off! This thing is capable of its own flight! Yeah! So then I can bring the gear in just like this. And there we go. The aircraft is now in flight. Oh, I better mute it. There we go. There we go. So yes, the aircraft is plenty capable of powered flight. So you can bring it up to altitude under its own power. And then you can use it to glide gently back to Earth. Simple as that. Now I'm going to teleport this thing to a higher altitude so I can actually show you how to fly this thing about, especially since I'm not able to fly high enough for this for my own liking. Alright, so I'm up in the air now. So one thing to note is that the Electro is even faster than the Jantar. So yes, this is the fastest of the gliders. So let me briefly show you the wing flex. So observe the wings. I'm going to pitch down. You notice they flex down. If I pull up, you notice the wings flex up, just like that. And yes, oh, also, if you roll, you'll notice that the wings flex in response to the aircraft's roll, just like that. You'll also notice it on one of the aircraft's extra views. So there's a wing cam. So yes, you see right there, perfect textbook demonstration of the wing flex on this bad boy. Also, another extra view that this aircraft has is a tail cam. So yeah, sort of a fixed cam attached to the aircraft, and you get this metal rod thing that shows you in what direction your aircraft is pointed to give you a good general direction reference. So how about cockpit view? Let me go into the cockpit. So again, a functional joystick that can pitch up, down, roll left, roll right. There doesn't seem to be any animated controls for the yaw. But you notice the speedometer works. There's a vertical speed indicator. There actually seems to be like 2 vertical speed indicators. One up top and one at bottom. And then you notice the altimeter. So you saw how I was able to roll this aircraft while in mid-flight. This glider, more than the other 3 gliders, is the most capable of doing acrobatic stunts. I don't think I'm going to do that right here, right now, because I am too low. Plus, I am close enough to the airport where I can show you how to land this thing, so I'm not going to pass up on that opportunity. So I'm going to show you how to come in for a landing. First thing I do is bring the flaps down. I'm going to bring them to full. You notice that the wings straightened out a bit. I'm going to bring my landing gear down. And also, I'm going to deploy the spoilers. So they're up. This will provide air drag, hypothetically, even though I'm still going like 100 knots as I descend toward the ground. But once I level off, you'll notice that the airspeed will start decreasing. Now, as with the other gliders, to land, you preferably want to butter the bread, or else you'll get a rebound, which is quite inconvenient and unhelpful. So I'm going to apply the parking brake as well. Okay, we touched down. Keep it pitched down just to help the glider keep its nose down, prevent it from rebounding. And as long as I'm now rolling along the ground, one last thing to note I should say, is that the wings, you might notice, at either end of them have rollers attached to them. So, like, once you lose airspeed enough to where you just start leaning, you notice that there's a roller protecting the wing from being scraped along the runway as you go along at these low speeds. So there, I have come to a stop, and absolute last thing to show you about the Electro. If you hit the X key, the cockpit windshield opens. So now you can hop out and go do something else now that you've successfully landed. What might that be? How about get back in your glider, send it over to the San Francisco area, and try to go land on the aircraft carrier? Which begs another question. Can you land a glider at the aircraft carrier in GeoFlight Simulator? The answer is yes, if you fly it correct. Last term, the if you fly correctly is the key phrase. So, actually is kind of tricky because these gliders, especially the Electro and the Jantar, they don't have very good braking power. Indeed, in the case of the Electro, I find that to come to a stop before the end of the carrier, I kind of have to slam on the deck and pitch down so that my nose starts dragging along the deck. Observe. Whoa! Oh no! See, this is what happens when you try to land too fast! Ah! Oh! Okay, so that wasn't... What the? Ahoy. So, that happened. And I guess on that awkward note, I can go ahead and call it an end to this GeoFS video. So that's everything that I have to say about gliders. So in next week's video, I'm going to be talking about the hot air balloons. There are two balloons that you can actually fly in GeoFlight Simulator. One of them is Major Tom. This is the balloon provided by Xavier Tassin, the developer of GeoFS. But there's also a community contribution. It's toward the bottom of the list, but right here, Rozier Balloon. This is the second balloon that you can choose to fly in GeoFlight Simulator. I will go into further details on how to fly those balloons in next week's video. But this is going to conclude this week's video. So I'm Spacebun, and my glider is stuck in the water and is thus unable to... Wait, what just happened? Wait, I'm back on the deck? Oh, I come to a stop. Okay, well, I'll just teleport back on the deck. So on that merry note, I hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching. See you all next week. Sierra Bravo 717 checking out. You know what? I said that there are 4 gliders in GeoFlight Simulator. I guess that is a bit of a lie. There is technically a 5th glider if you count the Space Shuttle Orbiter. Now, as I record this, this is one of the aircraft that you can fly around in GeoFlight Simulator. Now, I don't actually class this thing under the gliders for 2 reasons. One, I don't know if this shuttle will still be available to fly around and mess with by the time that this video posts. And 2, if you can technically fly this thing around however you want. Like, you can turn those main engines on like I just did a moment ago. This shuttle pretty much has infinite fuel to it. So, I mean, technically, yes, it is a glider in real life. However, I choose not to consider it as a glider in this video. I will cover it in more detail in its own video later on, provided, of course, that it is still available at that point. But for now, let me go ahead and try to come in for a bit of a landing here at Edwards Air Force Base. Yes, that is a runway that I just landed on. So, okay, drogue chute deployed. And since I'm landing at Edwards Air Force Base, I am landing at the longest runway on the face of the Earth. On this dry lake bed here in the high desert of California, which makes it the most suitable place to bring this aircraft in for a landing. And there we go. I'm slow enough now I can bring the drogue chute in. But there we go. I just landed at Edwards Air Force Base. I'm a true shuttle astronaut now. Okay, maybe not. But anyway, those are my 2 cents on Space Shuttle Atlantis. See you guys in the next video.